For landlords, by landlords. The Rent Perfect Podcast with David Pickron.
Well, welcome to the Rent Perfect Podcast. I have Scott here with me today. Remember to like and subscribe. We certainly love that you spend a little bit of time with us. We try to give you some good stuff. And today we're going to talk about ROT.
I love ROT.
What the heck is ROT? Okay, we know ROI, but ROT. Scott, you coined this phrase as we were talking about it.
Yeah.
Tell me about your thoughts on ROT or ROT.
So we think about ROT, right? Things that rot are things that go bad over time, right? So I just like the term, ROI is return on investment, obviously, but ROT would be our return on our time.
Okay.
And so every investment we make, there is a drain on our time, right? There is a return on the time we put into it. And so I think that we need to sometimes focus a little more importance on that ROT. ROI, obviously, clearly important. But ROT, that ROT, is critical to make sure if we've got properties that don't provide us the right ROT, that we chuck them out just like we would, food or something that was spoiling in our fridge.
And I love this because as I was a young investor, it was ROI. How much am I going to make? I've got all the energy in the world. I got all the time in the world, But as I get older, I'm more concerned about the time I'm spending than the money I'm gaining. And there certainly is a correlation there. So
as a 25-year-old investor, you're like, I've got 50 years to play with this. Now as a 55-year-old, well, not quite yet, but you're thinking, man, I have maybe 20 years left to spend on this, right? So there is that time component becomes much more critical as we get older.
Well, this year I'll be getting senior discounts this year.
I know, 55.
So, man, but boy, I feel young. I got a few years left in me.
That's right.
So Scott, I think about. I wonder how people feel about their property. Like, how can you gauge this ROT? Like, how can you? What can you do to say? Well, I don't know. What is my return on time?
Well, let me give you a little. This might be a good tester for you.
Okay.
If I said, hey, think about your property at this address, right? And listeners, if this helps you, just pause right now and go through in your mind and think about each individual address. What is my property on 513 Bigler? Oh, if there's a response, if there's a physical response in your body that's like, I hate that property. That property causes me so much grief, right?
Right.
That might be we might be rotting on that one, right?
Might be rotting on
but
that
if
one.
I gave you another, if I said, tell me about your property on Pinion or whatever, right? And you're just like, oh, I love that property.
Right.
Great property, great tenant, no problems.
Still fresh.
Yeah, right, yeah. But you may get those feelings, right? Because we do have a physical response to things that are negative or positive for us. And so just take the next 30 seconds if you want to pause. And just think through your property list and go, do any of those give me heartburn when I even think about the property?
Right. And I would think as what is causing me that heartburn, is it the tenant? Right? Is it the actual physical property? Is it the calls in the neighborhood, the crime? I mean, what is it? And then, if you're really going to worry about your return on time and you're probably feeling a time issue on this, right? So if it's a tenant, you're getting a ton of calls. Maybe you're not getting rent. Maybe they're destroying your property. That could cause this ROT because you're spending a lot of time trying to protect your property. It could be you just made a bad investment or the area. It could be the type of investment. What I mean by type of investment is about 10 years ago, Steph and I, we decided we wanted to dip our foot into the short-term rental game, right? You could make a lot more money. So the ROI was high, but the time was also high. But we feel like we had the time, we wanted to do it, so we didn't feel like all that time was a drain.
So this is like the Airbnb, the VRBO market,
VRBO, right? So we end up accumulating about 9 of these. And the money was like almost twice as good as a long-term rental. And Steph wanted to clean these things for $150 a turn. And so we're making money off of her, cleaning them. And we're making money off of the weekend rentals. And we got into some midterms and some snowbirds. Anyways, we did all kinds of crazy stuff. And we were having fun. I mean, we were buying these and we were furnishing them. And we watched our reviews. And But then I noticed that that she started pushing stuff onto me because she was our main manager of that, right? She started saying, "Hey, will you call this tenant? The propane tank is empty, 2 hours away, and somehow we got to get these guys a propane tank."
Yeah, got to cook that chicken.
Yeah,
right.
And,
yeah,
right, exactly. And she's like, and this broke up there, or this, or down here, or all of a sudden I noticed she started pushing more and more stuff to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, interesting. We're both pretty busy, and we both have a lot of we don't want to let each other down,
Sure.
right? And so I looked at her probably about 4 months ago, and I said, "Are you having any fun anymore?" Because about 3 years ago, she said, "I want to quit cleaning. It's too much. Like all these turns, and we have so many, and it was too much." So we hired cleaners and stuff and tried to make it right. But eventually, this high management. We were no longer landlords; we were hoteliers, really, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were providing just a different product. Yeah. And when I had the time, and she had the time and the energy, and wanted to, it was awesome. Loved. I don't regret it at all. I think it was fantastic. But now we're noticing it's just not as fun as it used to be anymore, right? In fact, it's kind of getting annoying. And so when you have me think of certain properties, I'm like, oh, yeah. But instead of blowing up everything, I'm out of here, this is terrible, I'm short term.
Fire sale, let's get rid of it all.
Let's just make a few adjustments and slowly start turning these short terms back into long term. Now, the money's not as great, but the time is wonderful. Let's make them fresh again instead of be rotting in my mind. So I love that exercise that you just kind of took us through, because I think of all the properties, and majority of them are like, yeah. But I even have one now that's a long-term, I get paid, but she's 86 years old. And so when I go over that property in my head, I'm like, she's awesome, love her, would have her again and again, but I've got something, because this will probably be her last home, right? And I can tell we're starting to get to some
some cognitive
some complaints
issues,
about the neighbors in the condos that aren't really there, right?
Okay, yeah.
Like I said, and I love this gal, but we're all going to go through this, right? And so, anyways, that not quite rotting yet, but I'm starting to say, there's something on the horizon coming. There's
some spots on the banana that are starting to go. And it might be turning, right?
The bread's getting a little bit moldy. Cut off that corner and eat the rest of it. But anyways, I love that. The reality is I want my time to control my investments. I don't want my investments to control my time.
Yeah.
Right? Not where I'm at today. And so I think it's wise for us to all go through, reflect on, and just, we're private investigators, Scott. We deal in this gut feeling and this deep down, just let it sink down into your just inner core and just say, what am I feeling right now?
Yeah.
Is there anxiousness? Is there, and that'll let you know, where you're at in your rot.
Yeah.
So I love that. But, no, I'm telling you what, short-term rentals for us in the midterm has been great. But there's a time and a season in all investors' lives on what they want to do.
Yeah.
So looking to make more money and you have more time, man, I'd do it all over again. Looking to cut back and to kind of have a little bit more of your time in your 50s, and a lot of our investors and a lot of our listeners are our age, if not older. Right. And, it's just time that we get more time.
Yeah. Hey, here, and let me just close out with another food analogy for you, right? Without rotten bananas, we wouldn't have banana bread. Right, and so you turn something that's bad into one of my favorite things, into something that's wonderful. So I agree. It's just a matter of sitting back sometimes and going, is this really serving me the way that I was hoping it would? And then being bold enough and brave enough to say, I want to have joy in my life, and how do I do that? It's usually by controlling my time.
Mm-hmm. So I'm hearing you say, don't be bananas, just be banana bread.
Be banana bread.
Okay.
Yeah.
And until next time, continue to rent. Perfect.